All right, welcome to our demo of DomusIQ by Vates Domus AI. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. This is our landing page, so if you go to VatesDomusAI.com, this is where it will take you. I'm already logged in, but we're going to go ahead and get started with the demo. So the landing page, when you log into the product, you're going to see MLS GPT, which gives you 4 options for searching for properties: zip code search, address search, map search, and chat with the MLS. And we're going to go through each one of these very quickly. So this one's pretty easy. Just do a zip code that you're interested in, and it will come back relatively quickly. And you'll see that you can actually go through and get a list of all the properties that are in Carteret County, and I found 202 active listings. You can sort these, days on market, living area, whatever you want to do to try and get it. And you'll also see that you can also find out if it's got basement, pool, city view, mountain view, etc. And you can sort by these if you're interested in just water views, and it will actually sort those to the top. Address search is very similar, and you can be relatively vague in your address search. We can do Riverside Drive, Morehead City, North Carolina. And it will pull back all the properties on Riverside Drive, or you can put in a specific address. And we can see that we have one active right here, which is the one that we were looking for. And if you click on these hyperlinks for listing ID or MLS ID, it'll pull up a property card so you can see more information about the property and decide if this is the one you actually want to work with. And if you're curious, you can actually go to view full listing at the bottom, and that will take you to our data provider, who is realty.com. And you can actually look at the entire listing and get all of the details and information on it. And this is just so you can find the properties. Another cool feature that you can use through all of these panels is we have the ability to chat with these properties. So we can come in and we'll do a better one. Let's go to... Let's do it this way. Map search, you're familiar with this. You can actually choose an area that you're interested in. We'll pick Morehead City and just grab a little section of Morehead City right here and draw the polygon around it. And this is a Google Maps polygon, so you should be familiar with it. When you get to the last dot, just click it a second time and then submit polygon. And it will pull back all the properties that are in that area that are for sale. And then we have the chat with the MLS. This one is pretty cool. It's a free-form chat. You can't ask it things like, is there a wine cellar? But you can ask it things like, show me properties in Carteret County that are have a water view, at least 3 bedrooms, 2,000 square feet for less than $1.5 million. You could also ask, things that are in the field on the MLS, like, the age of the home. Show me properties built after 2010, for instance. So this will come back, and it came back with 78 properties because Carteret County is a pretty large area. But we can go through, and what we can do is if you find something you like, let's say you've got a buyer that's interested in just this criteria, you can find, we got 78 back, but if you wanted to, you could choose just the top, let's say the top 10 properties from here. And we'll go ahead and pick 10 properties so you can get a sense of what this actually does. And it's going to stop you from clicking anymore because we've got 10. And then scroll up just a little bit and you'll see a button that says chat with 10 properties. This will open a new window. Read the disclaimer when you get time. But this will open a new window and you can ask, say, summarize these properties, for instance. And it will actually come back and give you a summary of the properties with all the good and it'll use the public remarks as well. And give you the ability to take a look at these and see if you like them or not. We'll let this run because we're going to run a couple more. And like I said, these are all in Carteret County for less than $1.5 million. So we're going to let AI, and you know how AI is, it's going to think about it for a minute because we're sending it a lot of data. Okay, so this came back, so we can take a look at this. And we'll see that the comprehensive summary of 10 active coastal properties in Carteret. And you'll see that it creates a table for you with the address, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the square footage, and the public remarks summary. So it gives you a very abbreviated public remarks, plus the key adjustments and premium features. So if you've got, some folks that are interested in properties and you want to save yourself some time, you can go pick out their properties in advance and have it come in and do this. And you'll see that it gives you the highlights of each one of these. So we could come in and say school districts. Which school districts are these properties in? Because Carteret County is a rather large area, so you're going to get different school districts for all of these properties. So we'll let that run for a second. Okay, so it came back and it gave us 10 properties, and it gives you a list of all of where these properties, elementary, middle, and junior and high school are. and it gives you a little bit of information about, the properties and the schools that are there. So what we could actually do is another one we can do is area events and attractions. So my buyer is new to the area. Can you highlight annual events that occur in the county and nearby towns worthy of a visit? So we're going to send that and see what it comes back with. In this case, AI is going to use its own knowledge to figure out what is nearby these zip codes or these towns, and then it's going to summarize the events in the area. So this isn't coming out of the MLS. This is coming from AI's knowledge. And while this is running, just so you know, we've got some Ask AI ideas, which you keep seeing me click the drop down. But you can freeform, if you have a question about these properties, you could actually go in and put that in as well. So you'll see that you get a nice little table around right here, major annual events in Carteret County. Chocolate Festival, Emerald Isle, St. Patty's Day Parade, Newport Pig Cook-Off. So it goes through and tells you a little bit about all this. Now what you can do for the next piece of this is, let's say I want to draft a buyer email because I want to send all this to my buyer. So you can take this and say, can you take this information, including the properties, and write an email to my buyer highlighting all of this. So it's going to take the MLS data that we gathered. It's going to take the school districts that we gathered, as well as the annual events, and put all of those in a form where you just have to put in your contact information and send this to a buyer. One thing I'll comment on is make sure you read these, because AI does hallucinate, and as hard as I've tried, I can't always control what it puts in there. Every now and then it'll drop in. It's about 1 in 100 chance, but every now and then it'll drop in an event from another region, like Crystal Coast of Florida, because there is a little area down there called that. But then you can actually, but make sure you read it is my point. So you'll see that it came back with a nice, and what you can do after this is most realtors like to use their own MLS listings from Hive or Flex MLS. So you'll need to go in and put in your own MLS listing so they can click on it, and then you can monitor traffic on that site as well. But you can see the Crystal Coast Lifestyle annual events and must-town visits. It gives you a highlight of all the properties that were chosen. Key properties and neighborhood context, downtown luxury and sound views, Morehead City and Beaufort, beachside soundfront retreats in Emerald Isle. So it breaks these out by town just a little bit so you can actually see. They're divided up slightly. And then in noted schools, school districts for priority for your family, Carteret schools are highly regarded. And then just put in your contact info and then copy this text and paste it directly into an email and you're ready to go. And like I said, you can freeform text this as well. If you want to. And then if you want to start over, you can actually just clear the text and then start the whole process all over again, because it's going to remember your chats as you go through there. So it's going to keep a memory of that. So the other thing, and that's a good way to search for properties and chat with the properties. That's a big part of the product. But another thing that we can actually do is, let's go find a property to pick on. There's one specifically I want to look for. Let's see, this one right here on Riverside Drive. So the main feature of the product is the CMA. So all of this, zip code search, address search, and map search, is to allow you to find the properties you're interested in. And we do have a pretty good catalog of prior MLS listings. So when you do address search, you can find, that's your way to find a property that hasn't been on the market in several years and you're getting ready to relist it. That being said, we also have a CMA from scratch, which we'll cover in just a minute. But let's run a CMA on this one. So we're going to take this property, launch a CMA. And this information at the top actually comes from your dashboard. So make sure you fill that out if you're using it. And you'll get a nice photo for it, and you'll get all the basic MLS info that you're used to seeing. You're also going to get a tax record. So you can actually see the tax information in here as well. This is the average for the state. In this case, it's for North Carolina. These are estimates and averages only. You're not going to find a bank that's going to match these rates necessarily, even though you probably will. But it's to give a buyer the idea, an option to determine. It's like, well, if I were to buy this property, what are the different types of loans I have available to me? And you can sort these, so you can actually see that the best rate down here is a 30-year VA loan right now. But you can also hide this if you want to on print so the buyer doesn't see it, and that's totally up to you. Like I said, it's not backed by a bank. These are just estimates to give someone an idea. You're also going to get a nice map with all of the star is the subject property, and a gray box will be sold properties, and then you'll see pending sales and active listings. And you can zoom in and out and see if there's a larger, homes you can look at. And you can click on one of these, and it'll actually tell you what the property is if you want to look at it. So you're also going to get a scatter plot for properties that I found that are nearby. And the way we do that is, let's look at this table first. So what will happen is it will actually search for up to 13 miles for properties that are active. It'll start at 1 mile and go to about 13 miles until it finds about 50 or 60 properties, up to 200 in some cases. And it'll find it within a 9-mile radius of the latitude and longitude with 20% smaller and 20% larger living area that are the same property type and subtype. So what you can do then is go through and decide which of these you actually want to use. Now, this table gives you the properties that are the closest. This one is 0.4 of a mile away, or 5 blocks. And you can actually see the details on the property. And also, if you want to look at just water views, you can actually sort by these columns: water view, waterfront, park view. This particular property is a water view, but you'll see that what's going to happen is it's going to show how far away they are and keep that as the... So it'll be sorted by water view, second sorted by miles away. So we're going to take, and even though some of these are not quite in the same town, Morehead City and Carteret counties are Carteret County is a large area, and it encompasses several towns. So you may not want to put the one on Pine Knoll Shores, but if you wanted to, you could. Just for the sake of the demo, I'm going to go ahead and select a few of these that are water views. Obviously, as a realtor, you're going to do a lot more research than what I'm doing. I'm just trying to show you the demo. But you can actually click on these properties also, and just like you did on the other pages, you can get the property card to see if this is the one that you actually wanted to use or not. This one is on Evans Street, so it's not terribly far away from the property because it's in the same town, and it is a water view, even though it's not downtown Morehead. And then you've also got sold properties with the same. So you can look at sold properties, find out when they actually, MLS date, last active MLS date. We only go back about 18 months to 2 years. So we don't give you a lot of garbage for sold. We try and keep it as concise as possible, and then you can decide how you wanted to handle that. Water view is a little bit tricky because sometimes the MLS data gets scrubbed, which means that you won't be able to tell if this property is a water view or a waterfront in the sold properties. So you may have to drill in and click on one of these and then go to the view full listing to see if you can get more information about it that way. So right now we've got a few properties chosen. So what we're going to do is we chose 6 properties that are currently active or pending. We didn't choose any sold. So we're going to generate an AI CMA analysis. And this takes about 1 to 2 minutes typically. In worst case, it'll take 5 minutes. But we're going to let this run. Okay, so our CMA has come back, and you'll see that you're going to get about between 3 and 6 pages, depending on how many you chose. And it's going to give you the property overview and market position, neighborhood dynamics, key strengths and unique features. Like it detected, it's in flood zone X, which means that it's not going to be subject to flood insurance. And then you're going to get a summary of all the properties that you chose. So strongest comp, same year built, 2005, elevator sound views. It's going to go through all of the comps you chose and give you the key adjustments and remarks, give you the days on market, the lot size in square feet, price per square foot. And then it's going to give you some comparable market statistics, excluding the property that we chose. Analysis of price outliers. So this one was 4.6 million. This property represents a significant upward outlier due to its direct oceanfront. So when it actually does make the adjustment or comes up with a calculation to figure out what this house might be worth, it's not going to include the outliers. So if you were to try to, let's say, add a $4 million property to a $500,000 property as a comparable, it's not going to use that $4 million property as a comparable because it knows it's an outlier. It's not going to work. So AI will call that out. Property characteristics, age and condition, amenities, location advantages, market trends, and timing. It'll talk about the days on market for the other properties and how the years could be at risk depending on the comparison of the comparables that may be there for a long time. Location analysis, location wins and losses. Quiet, walkable, no HOA fees, close to mainland shopping and medical facilities. Competitive advantages, turnkey luxury elevator, low carrying costs, no HOA fees, no flood insurance, garage parking, 2 single-car garages are there. And then it'll go through the recommendations and pricing. Subject properties listed at 1.37. Closest comparable is 2106 Evans. Applying a conservative 15% location waterfront adjustment, the Evans Street price per square foot according to its closer proximity to downtown and more direct sound views yields an adjusted target of 401. So it's going to come up with a price recommendation in this, and it's going to explain why it chose that price. Now, one thing I'll tell you about AI, it is non-deterministic. So if you run this twice in a row, you may get a 2 or 3% variance between one run and the next one. Because we're not using hedonic regression to figure out these prices, we're using AI. So AI could change a little bit if you choose the same comparables from one to the next. But they should still be within a couple of percent of each other, as a rule. Not always, but as a rule. And then it's going to go to you, give you some ideas for exhaustive room-by-room staging plan, how to handle the entryway foyer, dining room, gourmet kitchen, living room, covered porches and decks, out-of-the-box marketing strategies, agent presentation talking points. So if you've got a buyer that's interested, or if you're getting ready to sell a property for a new property, you can actually get some talking points about how to market it properly. Risk factors, interest rate sensitivity, competition from island properties, perception of mainland versus island. We also do, for properties that are already in the MLS, and this is really good for a buyer, is a photo analysis. So we'll send 10 of the first 20 photos to AI, and it will actually go through and give you a summary of this. So if you've got a property that needs to be restaged or it needs to be cleaned, AI will call that out and say, make sure that you've actually done the work to get it ready to put on the market. So, and it goes through and gives you details. And if you were to read this, you can actually find out that it can actually see, like appliances and fixture. The cooking alcove is anchored by professional grade double oven gas range with custom gold knobs, trim set beneath striking custom design black and gold range hood. And it goes through and it analyzes the pictures. Curb appeal is outstanding. Property features grand wide concrete driveway that spills gracefully around a manicured landscaping island. Staging and presentation. The staging is highly professional and perfectly tailored to a luxury coastal buyer. So you can look at this. The visual evidence strongly supports a price of 1.3 to 1.4, and the level of finish in the kitchen alone represents a massive capital investment. So what we're going to do now is get ready to, let's say we want to send this to a consumer. If you print this, what's going to happen is it's going to change the layout just a little bit in the print form. So you're going to get all your contact information at the top, the data that were there. We went ahead and left the mortgage stuff in there. I did not check hide. You can see the properties that were around there that we chose, which in this case we didn't zoom out very far, so you can't see all the properties that were nearby. What it's going to do is I didn't choose any sold properties, so it's going to give you a scattergram or a scatter plot of all the properties that were sold since we didn't choose any. But since we only chose a few comparables, the scatter plot will update on print, so it only shows the comparables that you chose. And then you've got your CMA analysis, which you'll see is several pages. And then we give a property card for each of the properties you chose as comparable, so they can see what's nearby and what you chose as comparable and get an idea of what the competition is. And I've tested this up to about 20 comparables, so if you wanted to go crazy and use 20, you certainly could. We're going to cancel that, but what you could also do is save this as a PDF, and my recommendation is when you save it as a PDF, make sure you save it as the property address. That way you don't lose them over time. So that's how we do a CMA. Now, for a property that's never been in the MLS before, we have a form called a CMA from scratch. Or if the property hasn't sold in, let's say, 25 years, it's not going to be in the MLS anymore, most likely. So what you can do is fill out this CMA form from scratch with all the pertinent information. One thing I'll call out is make sure you're very detailed in the public remarks and the adjustments that you want on the property, because AI will use the public remarks to make an informed decision about how it compares to other properties. So don't leave this blank if you do it. And you also have the ability to put in an estimated price. And if you don't know, if you literally have no idea what you want to list it for and you want AI to figure it out, just put in $1. Now, this is kind of a beatdown to figure out. So what you can actually do is go to, we're going to pull that property up, 111 Riverside Drive. Do its tax record search. North Carolina. 28557. So we're going to search for that property, and you'll see that it pulls back basically all of the tax information for that property that's publicly available. We have access to 3,000 counties for the tax information, but what you can do now that you have this is create a CMA from this tax record, and it will preload the CMA from scratch for you. Now, one thing I would recommend is go through and make sure that all the information is correct, because as many of us know, tax records can be wrong. It's going to get the GPS coordinates, which we need to be able to find the comparables. We can add water view because it does have actually a little alcove canal water view. There's a marina near there. We're going to leave the estimated list price alone. Select status for a new CMA, just click on new, and then put in the property description. So we're going to grab all of this as if we were creating this from scratch and copy it and paste it in there just to save us some time, because like I said, we don't want to leave that blank. You can also choose a property photo. That will show up just on the CMA. Listing date and sold date, you can leave that blank and just leave the rest of this as default if you want to. If you're in a hurry to do this, continue to the CMA form. And what you'll get is a big no image available. That's why you want to add a picture, because if you print this out, you want them to have a nice pretty picture of their house on there. And then basically you go through all the same steps again. So you'll go through and choose your comparables, and you'll see that it did load, and it found the house that we just picked because it's already on the market, so it was kind of redundant. But we can see that it actually does find the closest house is itself, so you wouldn't want to add that one if it were already on the market. But then you can go through and figure out which of these that you actually want to use. So that's pretty much the demo. There's a lot of powerful features in here. Like I said, zip code search, address search, map search, chat with the MLS, where you can actually do a free-form chat. And then create a CMA from that. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us.